Hi there guys, and welcome to another Train Sim 2017 video. Today we are doing a scenario that I have never been able to do before, until a little pack came out from Armstrong Powerhouse a few days ago. This is what we're covering in today. You'll know from the title anyway. This is the Route Stability Enhancement pack. We're not running this full scenario through. I will do that in my own time because I've been desperate to do this one myself for ages. So we'll get the train started up and moving, and then we'll go through what the pack does. So we're on the Great Eastern Main Line. Hello driver, you are currently waiting at a red signal outside Stratford. Take this time to set up the cab and await the road. As soon as you receive it, you must head north eastwards to Ipswich Yard, where the scenario will finish. And then there's just some timings. Please note your maximum speed is 75 miles an hour. Enjoy the run on this balmy summer evening. Now, as you can see, we are a bit frame rate hit. That's because this is very, 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 very intensive. So let's get that in there. Let's get that into neutral. So annunciator coming up there. Cancel AWS self-test. Let's put our loco brake fully on. And we'll just reduce our train brake to 4.5 bar to there. Next thing we need to be doing is lights. So up here we have our lights on to day. We want our instrument lights on. We don't need the upper headlight, we don't need cab lights. None of that. Do we need... We don't need ETS on. Okay. We're all set up, we're just waiting for the road, which is fine. Got a nice full rake of FEAs, I think they are. Hello driver, currently experiencing problems with the signal ahead, so please tab to obtain permission to pass at danger. Excellent. Oh, stutter, stutter, stutter. I don't care about the stutter. I'm actually playing this scenario and it's not dumped. So what I want to do is set my speed set first of all, that I can hardly see because of the light on in here at this moment in time. 15, we've got 20 limits, let's stick it onto 20. Turn our cab light off again. Now we are going to go into forward. Cancel that. Release our train brake and open the power controller. Now release the loco brake as well. We should start moving. We're a pretty heavy train on a big incline at the moment, so I'm just taking it easy to get us going. So starting the 92, the train should be on the stationary with the initial brake application 4.5 bar, which is what I had it on, and then the loco brake. So this one fully applied. Then set up your speed set and move your handle to forward or reverse, whatever way you're going. Then release the train brake and then stick the power handle in the on position. Make sure on here it says that you've got speed set, which is what I didn't do but should have done. And then move the power handle up a bit, release the loco brake, and off you go. So even with the FPS being pretty painful, it will lighten up. I'm able to run this scenario. And why is that? So it's the Route Stability Enhancement pack. So what's the purpose of the pack? One of the biggest issues of Train Simulator is that it's a 32-bit program. It was made before the days of 64-bit programs. It's 32, which means it has a 3.5 gigabyte usage limit of RAM. That was from the days of only being able to use 4 gig of RAM in a machine. Windows could only see it. What's happened since then is things have moved on, but the game engine itself couldn't be updated to 64-bit, hence why we've got Train Sim World these days. A few years ago, in one of the core updates for Train Simulator, we got the ability to use up to 3.5 gigabytes. Before it was bottoming out about 2. and that's where the 4 gig patch that you might have heard of came out. Everybody ranted and raved about this 4 gig patch, and it did work before DTG implemented it themselves. I was quite superstitious with it. I kept it in just in case. It was like if I removed it, I seemed to get more dumps, but I didn't. It was all in my head. I did some proper testing, looking at RAM usage and CPU usage and everything that with a couple of tools that I use, and it wasn't doing anything after about the 2000 and the Trainsim 2014 update. I think it was 2015 update. The 4 gig patch was then useless because it's implemented into the core software itself now. What Armstrong Powerhouse have done is nothing to do with a 4 gig patch. So lots of you will have had crash dumps or temp dumps, and some of those will be out of memory errors. In fact, quite often they will be out of memory errors. The reason for that is you reach the usage limit of RAM and it can't take any more, so it just says, right, see you later. Armstrong Powerhouse have very cleverly looked at the routes that are through DTG's history, and since 2013. Well, let me read you their blurb. It's probably the best way to do this, because I'll describe it wrong, and I want to do the best for Richard, because there's certain people whinging about this pack, and there's other people not understanding exactly what it does. So what's the purpose of the pack? One of the biggest issues with Trainsim was 32-bit 3.5 gig memory limit. Once you hit this limit, you'll receive a dump message and crash out of the simulator. With more rolling stock arriving at higher quality than ever before, this strain has never felt so much. So this pack seeks to make root more efficient, so this is it. Reduce times for crash, provide the ability to include more rolling stock in a scenario, improve the chance of being able to use full graphic settings where previously scenarios advised against it. So there you go, that's what this is to do. This isn't going to give you massively more frame rates. Some routes having a little bit more RAM to play with and stuff, and being able to play about your graphic settings will give you more FPS. So this pack, in a way, in a roundabout way, might give you more FPS. But I'm not saying that that is anywhere near guaranteed, nor did Armstrong Powerhouse even say that. I'm saying that purely from my behalf, because you will be able to play with your settings to get a bit better FPS at the higher rates, if you catch my drift. So how is this achieved? So after an extensive investigation, we have identified one area where we feel there's a disproportionate amount of memory being used. So what that's saying there is, with that 3.5 gig limit, when your RAM, which is your random access memory, which the game is kind of put into in a way, and then taken out really, really quickly, when you reach the 3.5 gig limit, you'll dump. And this is saying that they found something that was using lots and lots and lots of that RAM up. So it used a disproportionate amount of memory used compared to its benefit. And that big thing is ambient audio, by the way, guys. So it's ambient sounds that were using up a load of RAM. Since 2013, routes have seen an explosion in the size of ambient audio files used, and we have discovered this adversely affects performance, in some cases significantly. As a result, this pack removes most, if not all, ambient audio. As well as that, we found a handful of very large texture files which have been reduced in size to a more economic level with minimal visual impact. Okay, so it's not just removing sounds, it's also changed over some textures and things like that. This then goes on to a section that says, is anything else included? Whilst not strictly related to memory issues or stability, this pack provides a good opportunity to make other improvements. So number one of those is the removal of the track bed rumble sound. Now this is that really annoying stupid noise that you hear on most routes. And these stem from the days of early Train Simulator when rolling stock didn't feature their own run sounds. So nowadays all the trains inside their own sound files have the run sounds. Before, the run sounds were all the same because every train made the same run sounds because they weren't built into the train, they were built into the track. Armstrong Powerhouse have removed this. Thank God. The next one is also a massive improvement for me. Do you ever find when you're going over bridges or trains or through tunnels you get really horrible sounds? Right, well, they've fixed that as well. They've standardised reverb when in a tunnel or under a bridge using our own custom setting. This only applies to parts of routes where reverb was already present. already present. Something at Christmas already present. So when we go under these bridges and things like that, you won't hear that really god-awful, really loud noise. It is done very nicely. I'm very, very pleased with it. Okay, so the next question you guys will probably be asking are what routes are supported. So remember they were saying it was post 2013 that the routes started being full of all this stuff. So you think about things like West Coast Main Line North, which always ran pretty well. All those pre-2013 stuff tends to run well because I always thought it was lower textures or less densely populated, that sort of thing. Now, there is a bit of that, but it also sounds like they also don't have these millions and millions of files. So let me just go through the numbers with you and what routes are supported. So DTG Chatham Mainline, the London Gillingham section, okay, they've removed 156 megabytes of detritus sound from them. Before I even say this, actually, let me just say, who actually sits outside the train and listens to the really repetitive bird sounds? Who really enjoys the sound of that really irritating forklift? Who really enjoys the ambient car horns or police sirens? Yeah, not many of you. Didn't think so. So, DTG Chatham Mainline, London Gillingham, 156 megabytes removed. DTG East Coast Mainline, London to Peterborough, not a number, but they must have removed significant amounts because it runs 1,000 times better for me. DTG Eastern Mainline, London to Ipswich. Okay, this is why I'm able to do this scenario. They have removed 459 megabytes of sound files, ambient audio, from this. Now, it's not going to ever load all that up at once. I think it does go on to say that, but it's a lot, shall we say. DTG Liverpool to Manchester, haven't tried that route yet, but that's been done as well. No numbers on that one. DTG London to Brighton, 95 megabytes. I've tried a scenario on the London to Brighton that I would always dump on loading. That now loads for me at Victoria. It's still a bit like this. That's why I picked this one with the really crap frame rates, but it was just because I can do it. Next of all, you have DTG London to Faversham high speed. Again, 459 megabytes. That sort of number sticks about quite a lot. So I think there's been a lot of copy and pasting of audio files over, and Armstrong Powerhouse have realised that and removed them, which is nice. DTG Midland Mainline, London to Bedford, 459 megabytes. DTG North London Line, 488 megabytes. This is the big one. DTG North London and Goblin Lines, 534 megabytes of useless sounds gone. DTG Riviera Line, Exeter Paynton, 495 megabytes. DTG South to Carlisle, that's had some removed as well, even though I think that was pre-2003. DTG London Network, South London Network, 208 megabytes. DTG South West Coastal, 203 megabytes. DTG South Wales Coastal, Bristol Swansea, 221 megabytes. So, there's a bit under here that says, please note, the memory saving stated is the total amount of files that have been removed or reduced in size. It may not necessarily reflect the total saving seen in-game. Not all files will be loaded at once, and the greatest benefits will be seen over the course of a scenario which covers the full length of the route. Alright, that's what I was going to say at the start. So don't get sort of thinking you've saved 500 meg of RAM just because they've taken that out. You haven't. Over the course of the route you have saved 534 megabytes somewhere along the line, but it won't load all of them up at once. So it might only be a 20 meg sound file that is loaded up, say, at this station, but as soon as we get out that station, it's a 5 meg file that then gets loaded in. Then there's another 10 meg file, and then at really busy bits there might be two 15 meg files and a 20 meg file. So it's you won't notice the difference unless you really like listening to bird sound. I noticed that they're missing. It's great. It's actually fantastic. It's fine. So for any routes not listed with a memory save, and these are already economical in their use of memory and only benefit from the trackbed rumble and reverb modification, which is done to all routes as far as I'm aware. DTG ones even as well. I heard people ask, why is the Wary Lines not included on there? Well, because DTG Armstrong Powerhouse weren't stupid enough to put those sounds in the first place. What Richard did say on the page was that he was happy to actually go back and have a look at the Wary Lines and see if there was anything that could be removed. So we may see a little update to this. This is the big bit. This is the disclaimer. We make no guarantee that this pack will stop you experiencing crashes or dump messages. Memory is not the only reason the simulator will crash, though it is by far the most common. It will still be possible to hit the memory limit. This pack simply offers more breathing room before this happens. Please remember that. This isn't going to cure your dumps. And as much as Richard says that it's by far the most common, it probably is by far the most common. Those of you that aren't sticking reskins in left, right and centre, or aren't necessarily fully proficient at installing stuff into Train Sim, myself included in this, badly installed assets can cause dumps, corrupted downloads can cause dumps, graphics card issues can cause dumps, vortex errors, all that sort of thing. So there's lots and lots of things that can cause these dump crash files. But he's right, memory usage is if you're just someone who just plays the game and downloads third-party DLCs and DTG stuff, by far it's going to be your main issue. Also, you'll notice that a lot of the Armstrong Powerhouse scenarios say reduce your graphics settings before you play this and save regularly. This should hopefully eradicate some of that as well. Not all of it by any means, but it should eradicate some of it. So far, I'm noticing a drastic improvement just because I can play it. I wouldn't have usually videoed this scenario. I would play it, even though it is quite laggy here, but I would have never have really videoed this scenario because it just isn't good enough to video because of the frame rate and my hardware. But I wanted to video it because I couldn't even play it before. I'd get sort of 2 minutes into it. This is the furthest I've ever been in this scenario. It'd sort of do 2 minutes in and then it'd dump, or it'd do sort of 5 minutes in and it'd dump. There was never a clear exact point it would dump at. But this is by far the furthest I've ever got, which is lovely. And it's very stuttery still, but it's playable. I'm playing it. So that's really the pack. That's really what this pack goes into talking about. So again, to summarise, what this is doing is this has removed an awful lot of junk from Train Sim, which should mean that your memory usage should be more efficient. As I said, it's not going to give you major FPS, but you can fiddle around with your settings. You've got a little bit more headroom to fiddle about with your settings now to maybe get a few more FPS. It should help with things like tile loading and things like that, because that's where it's going to go into the RAM. So it should make things slightly smoother. I'm noticing the West Coast main, the East Coast mainline south is a lot smoother. Not got drastic frame rate increases, but the tile loading is a lot less. I'm not getting huge stutters. So yeah, my verdict on this is, for what is less than the price of a pint in Cambridge, brilliant. There is a flip side to this. There is nothing saying that you can't go in and do this yourself, which is the argument of the anti-Armstrong Powerhouse brigade at the minute. Why is somebody selling a patch? Why is somebody charging for this? You can do it yourself. Well, you could do it yourself. I've got a fairly successful Facebook group at the moment, and it's got, I think we're about 1,300 members, and I can guarantee at least twice a week I will have somebody asking how to install a reskin. Even though that all those wonderful creators out there put some awesome readmes in that do make sense, but if you don't understand a jot about computers, they make no sense still. So if you were to put a guide up of how to uninstall all the sounds from the roots, A, it takes time, and time is money for me, and B, you need to be semi-competent in working out, even understanding file structures of computers, which a lot of people aren't. And I, for one, £2.99 is worth me not having to do it manually. I am inherently lazy. I am incredibly lazy. And if I can get somebody to do something for me for little cost, then God, I'd get somebody to do it. Damn right I would. If I could afford a cleaner, I'd have a cleaner. If I could afford someone to come and install all my reskins and train sim and do all my reinstalls for me, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I would pay somebody probably quite decent money to do that. Don't worry, I've already had plenty of offers for people to do that. It's not that I can't do it. It's not that I can't do it. I find it really boring. I find it long-winded, very boring, tedious. I could go on and on. So yes, for me, this pack is a big thumbs up. It has made scenarios that I couldn't play playable. It has made routes smoother for me. No big stutters on tile loading. So thoroughly recommend you guys go out there and get it. And on that note, guys, it's time for me to say goodbye. I'm going to end this scenario around here. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please feel free to like, share and subscribe, and head on over to Armstrong Powerhouse and pick this pack up if you do want it. So once again, guys, thanks ever so much, and I will catch you soon.